Buenos dias. Chomriapsur. Assalamu alaikum. We continue our story of Nur-ed-Din and Enis-el-Jelis as they enter the Garden of Delight, owned by the Khalifa, from the 1001 Nights. When we last left our story, the Khalifa saw the lights on at the Garden of Delight from afar and wondered, what the hell is going on in my garden? Looks like a party, and how come I haven't been invited? So he goes to Jafar, one of his main viziers, and says, you better help me find out what's going on in my kingdom.
Who could do these things unless the office of Khalifa were taken from me?
Who, said Jafar, the muscles of his side quivering from fear, informed thee that the lamps and candles were lighted in the palace of diversion, and that its windows were opened?
The Khalifa replied, advance hither to me and look.
So Jafar approached the Khalifa, and, looking towards the garden, beheld the palace as it were a flame of fire, its light surpassing that of the moon. He desired, therefore, to make an excuse for the Sheikh Ibrahim, the superintendent, thinking, from what he beheld, that the event might have occurred through his permission. And accordingly he said, O Prince of the Faithful, the Sheikh Ibrahim last week said to me, O my master Jafar, I am desirous of entertaining my children during my life and the life of the Prince of the Faithful. And what, said I, is thy design in saying this? He answered, it is my wish that thou wouldst obtain for me permission from the Khalifa that I may celebrate the circumcision of my sons in the palace. So I said, do what thou wilt in respect to the entertainment of thy sons, and if God will, I shall have an interview with the Khalifa, and will acquaint him with it. And he left me thus, and I forgot to acquaint thee.
O Jafar, said the Khalifa, thou wast
guilty of one offense against me, and then thine offense became two, for thou hast erred in 2 points. The first, thy not acquainting me with this affair, and the second, thy not accomplishing the desire of the Sheikh Ibrahim, for he did not come to thee and address thee with these words, but to hint a request for some money by the aid of which to effect his design, and thou neither gavest him anything, nor acquaintedst me that I might give him. O Prince of the Faithful, replied Jafar, I forgot. Could happen to anybody, right? He just forgot. But he's really trying to make an excuse for Ibrahim, because he doesn't want Ibrahim to get into trouble. The Khalifa then said, by my forefathers, I will not pass the remainder of my night but with him, for he is a just man, who frequenteth the sheiks, and attendeth to the poor, and favoreth the indigent, and I imagined all his acquaintances are with him this night. So I must repair to him, and perhaps one of them may offer up for us a prayer, productive of good to us in this world and the next. And probably some advantage may accrue to him from my presence, and he will receive pleasure from this, together with his friends. O Prince of the Faithful, replied Jafar, the greater part of the night hath passed, and they are now about to disperse. But the Khalifa said, we must go to them. And Jafar was silent, and was perplexed in his mind, not knowing what to do. So the Khalifa rose upon his feet, and Jafar rose and preceded him, and Mesra the eunuch went with them. As they reached the Palace of Delight, the Khalifa, not wanting to surprise and shock the Sheikh Ibrahim, says, O Jafar, I would climb this tree, for its branches are near to the window, and look at them. And accordingly he ascended the tree, and climbed from branch to branch until he came to that which was opposite to one of the windows, and there he sat, looking in through his window of the palace. And he beheld a damsel and a young man like 2 moons, extolled by the perfection of him who created them. And he saw the Sheikh Ibrahim sitting with the cup in his hand and saying, "O mistress of beauties, drink unaccompanied by merry sounds is not pleasance. Hast thou not heard the saying of the poet?" Once again, we have verses, sex, drugs, rock and roll, everything's here. "Circulated in the large cup and in the small, and receive it from the hand of the shining moon, and drink not without merry sounds, for I have observed that horses drink to the sound of whistling." When the Caliph witnessed this conduct of the Sheikh Ibrahim, the vein of anger swelled between his eyes, and he descended and said, "O Jafar, I have never seen anything of the miraculous performances of the just, such as I have beheld this night. Ascend therefore thyself also into this tree, and look, lest the blessings of the just escape thee." The jig is up. I mean, he realizes, hey, this is not the circumcision of his son. On hearing the words of the Prince of the Faithful, Jafar was perplexed at his situation, and he climbed up into the tree and looked and saw Nur-ed-Din and the Sheikh Ibrahim and the damsel, and the Sheikh Ibrahim had the cup in his hand. As soon as he beheld this, he made sure of destruction, and he descended and stood before the Prince of the Faithful, and the Caliph said, "O Jafar, praise be to God who hath made us to be of the number of those who follow the external ordinances of the holy law, and averted from us the sin of disguising ourselves by the practice of hypocrisy." But Jafar was unable to reply from his excessive confusion. The Caliph then looked towards him and said, "Who can have brought these persons hither and admitted them into my palace? But the like of this young man and this damsel, in beauty and loveliness and symmetry of form, mine eyes hath never beheld." Jafar, now conceiving a hope that the Caliph may be propitiated, replied, "Thou hast spoken truly, O Prince of the Faithful." And the Caliph said, "O Jafar, climb up with us upon this branch which is opposite them, that we may amuse ourselves by observing them." So they both climbed up into the tree, and, looking at them, heard the Sheikh Ibrahim say, "O my mistress, I have relinquished decorum by the drinking of wine, but the pleasure of this is not complete without the melodious sounds of stringed instruments." "O Sheikh Ibrahim," replied Enis-el-Jelis, "by Allah, if we had any musical instrument, our happiness were perfect." And when the Sheikh Ibrahim heard her words, he rose upon his feet. The Caliph said to Jafar, "What may he be going to do?" Jafar replied, "I know not." And the Sheikh Ibrahim went away and returned with a lute. And the Caliph, looking attentively at it, saw that it was the lute of Ishak, the cup companion, and said, "By Allah, if this damsel sing not well, I will crucify you all. But if she sing well, I will pardon them and crucify thee." So Jafar said, "O Allah, let her not sing well." "Why?" asked the Caliph. "That thou mayest crucify all of us," answered Jafar, "and then we shall cheer one another by conversation." And the Caliph laughed. And the damsel took the lute and tuned its strings and played upon it. This is a shorter reading tonight, so we'll stop there. Does she sing well? Does she sing poorly? Will they all be spared? Will they all be crucified? Some good comedy here if you can kind of read between the lines. Jafar is really playing it well. Doesn't want to get Ibrahim in trouble, but he doesn't want to die for his mistake either and trying to cover for Ibrahim. But his little jest in terms of, I hope she sings poorly so that they all get crucified so they can keep each other company, might be enough to save them all. We'll find out tomorrow. I hope yes.